winning Cocodona doesn't make you feel powerful, but wearing heels does.
Yeah, that's something like that. Maybe I
Yeah.
should run the next Cocodona in heels.
All right, so Rachel, last year you ran Cocodona in 73 hours and took first place, and this year you ran just under 64 hours for the win in the course record. How do you feel about that?
Pretty cool. Yeah, it was a surprise to me that I was actually running that fast. I had no idea what my time was until probably several hours after I finished. I actually did not know what my finishing time was. So to find out that it was like sub 65 was pretty mind blowing. So yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Like, from like a spectator perspective, like being out there on course, but also like watching live stream because it's kind of like how you kind of have to do these things sometimes. Like I'm just like watching. It was like wild to see you just execute a race like from an outside perspective, like almost perfectly. Like, it was really cool to see like from so many ways. So like, do you feel like you kind of executed Cocodona in a perfect way, or to a certain extent?
Yeah, I do. I don't think, of course, obviously there's some small things that I think I could have improved on. I was actually just running with my partner and we were chatting about this very thing. And like, I do feel like I wasted a little bit of time at aid stations. That was one of the things. And I cut down tremendously on my time wasting this year, but I do still feel like that's one thing that I could have maybe done a little bit smoother. And he was saying that my problem is I'm just kind of good with anything. So when I come into the aid station, they're like, well, do you want anything in particular? And I'm like, oh, whatever. So if I come in, and maybe this is something that I'll have to practice moving forward, but like if I come in with more of a plan of like, all right, I want to change shirts. I want to take off my shoes. I want to eat potatoes and I want to leave within 5 minutes. Like that could probably still save me even like more time if I wanted to go that route. Um, but yeah, so I that's maybe one more like small thing that I could do to improve. And then I actually got lost twice on this course this year. So one time I was by myself, and I like was hauling down this hill, and I was feeling good. I was just outside of Whiskey Row. And I was like, it's kind of weird. I haven't seen a course marker in a while, and like there's no footprints. And I checked my phone that had my map on it, and it was like I was a half mile minimum off course. And so I was like, crap, because then I had to turn around and go right back uphill. So I wasted some time getting lost there. And then one of my pacers and I got turned around just after Munns Park, I think. And probably wasted about 20 minutes there. So, yeah, so that would have been 40 minutes shorter, and then easy. So yeah, if I could just not get lost, that'd be convenient. But I mean, really, otherwise, I cannot complain. I'm super thrilled. Really, my only goal going into this race was to end it with a better attitude than I did last year. And that was a massive success. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped with how this year went for sure. The fact that I just happened to do so well is kind of just like an afterthought almost.
I mean, there's so many things I want to talk about, and everything you just said, because it's all really like interesting and just like it's just crazy to think about. But like, I guess first of all, like, do you have any idea of like what your stop time was? I know you slept like what twice without you didn't plan to sleep twice, but you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. I don't know what my stop time was. I think you can probably find that on the website. I do think they have a little stop time thing. I don't think it was probably that long, but then again, like time is such a flat circle when you're doing one of these things. Like I have truly no idea what my stop time was. But yeah, I mean, I slept twice, both, well, one time was on accident. We got to, I think it was Munns Park actually. And, I was like taking off my shoes and Kevin was going to like do blister stuff or something. And I just passed out. And it was funny because I remember going into that aid station and being like, all right, like I want to be in and out. I feel good. I don't want to sleep, like whatever. But as soon as I laid down, it was game over. And my crew basically turned their back for 1 second. And then apparently I was snoring. And so they just all kind of looked at each other and like, we're like, okay. And I woke up about 20 minutes later. So they just like didn't even touch me and I woke myself up. And then sometime later that morning, because that was in the evening. And then sometime later that morning, I was really dragging. Um, and I kept telling my pacer, like, hey, I'm really sleepy. Like, hey, I'm really sleepy. Hey, like, caffeine is not cutting it. Like, I need to lie down. And then finally I won. And we just made like a little dirt nap spot on the side of the trail. And I passed out immediately and then woke myself up again in about 5 minutes. And that was the last I slept.
Really? So you slept a total of 25 minutes during Cocodona?
25 minutes, yeah. I felt actually, this is so unhealthy, and I am not a role model for anyone, but I actually felt like I probably could have gone the whole thing without sleep if I'd like, I don't know. I was not going to be surprised if that happened. Because I feel like I'm like a hidden superpower of mine is functioning off of no sleep. So, it wouldn't have necessarily surprised me. And I really, my sleep plan for these things is just like try to hold off as long as you possibly can, safely. And then just sleep when you feel tired. I don't know exactly like, sleep for 15 minutes and then like see how you feel. I don't know about any of that stuff, but yeah, I do at least have that part of the sleep plan down is just like hold off and then sleep when tired.
Yeah, considering though, like how this year there were two sections where you couldn't have pacers and they were further like later on in the race. Like, did that affect
Ugh.
your? Did you think about that? I guess when it came to like a sleeping plan, if you're like, okay, I'm not going to plan sleeps, but there's these two sections later on where potentially I need to be awake for, or you do need to be awake for.
Yeah. 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 Don't get lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was nervous about those two sections, not necessarily from a sleep perspective though. Because I mean, again, if I'm sleepy, I'm just going to sleep. And honestly, too, I think sometimes if I take a dirt nap, I'm a little more efficient on my own. Like I will set a 5 minute timer and I will get up when that timer goes off because there's no back plan when that happens. Or like when you're taking your own race into your hands by being solo, like you have to stay on top of it. You cannot sleep through your alarm, or I guess you can, but that's not going to be good for your strategy. I actually really enjoyed those sections though. I was not looking forward to them. I guess that's a little bit too harsh to say, but I wasn't excited about doing them. But as the race went on, I don't know, like I like running with my friends, but I also really do enjoy running by myself. And so that kind of gave me a little bit of an opportunity to be like, well, I'm about to just be able to run my own pace. Like no one's going to be like in front of me that I'm trying to catch via pacer or like behind me trying to egg me on or like nagging at me to eat something. Like I can just run this section at whatever pace I want to do. And so I turned it into a little game of like each one was about 16 miles and I wanted to try to do it in each one in under 4 hours was my stupid game I played. So I was successful in case you're wondering. But yeah, so it was, I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was muddy. One of them was really muddy, but everything was muddy. So whatever.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk more about like, I guess the weather and the terrain here in a moment because it was obviously like the most unique Cocodona you could say in the past 5 years.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about your crew then. Like, I know you said you had pacers for most of it, but like how important was your crew like in your effort? Because like just thinking about how like as like 200s are getting faster and like if you watch Western States, for example, like I'm sure you do, but it's like the crews are so vital to get people in and out of aid stations quickly, like safely and efficiently. And like it's been crazy to watch like 200s kind of evolve like in the past however many years. And it's like the same thing, just extrapolate a little bit more to like, okay, maybe take a little bit longer to like brush your teeth or maybe take a little nap or something. But really it's like you have to be efficient and fast. And it's no more just like I'm going to sleep for 4 hours and then continue on like it was at the beginning.
I mean, you certainly can do that, but I don't know if you're going to be in the top 10. Yeah, it has been really interesting. My crew this year, I had two people from last year, so they were familiar with the course. One of them last year was my crew captain. And then my other one was like a very close friend that I talk to like daily, who just like knows me really well. And then I had my partner who I run with constantly. And then, my buddy Gus, who is just like, I don't know. I've heard wonders about how he is as a pacer, and like can confirm Gus Gibbs is like the best pacer of all time. But yeah, so I picked all of them kind of intentionally. I mean, they're all guys, and so on at least a surface level, they are faster than me. So I knew that they would push me a little bit during the sections that they were running with me. And then I also knew too that like none of them would really take much of my crap, I guess. Like if I got into like a point where, I was feeling complainy or whatever, or like got into a negative headspace, I knew that they would not let me stay there, which I think is a really important aspect of a crew. I don't know how to like find, or I don't know. I don't know the steps in like figuring out like who is that for you, but for whatever reason, like these 4 dudes were that for me, like the correct amount of like encouraging and also like validating. Because sometimes you do feel bad and you just want to talk about how sleepy you are, So yeah, I mean, I could. It is kind of dumb to me that I'm the one who's getting all the podcast offers and like all the like hype, because I mean, I was one part of the machine here. Like I was just the dumb racehorse that they were like, all right, get out. I mean, I'm sure that their job was significantly harder than mine was, because you're having to think about logistics. You're having to think about like, how am I going to be when I come in? And like, you have to anticipate like what I'm going to need, because I sure don't know. And all I had to do was just run, that's easy. I can do that. So yeah, I don't know. I owe pretty much everything to the 4 people that helped me make this happen, because I mean, it was an incredible opportunity to get to do this race again, and to ask 4 people to take a week of work off to come help me hallucinate 200 miles into the Arizona desert. Like, I don't know. It was cool. So yeah, crew, very important. I don't understand how people do this without crew. Hats off, I guess, to them. I don't get it. To me, it just makes it like a bonding experience. Like these people have like become my family. And I could say the same for my crew last year, that doing something hard with people that you care about is like such a deeply like fulfilling experience. And I consider my race to be successful only because, my attitude at the end of the race was exactly what I wanted it to be. So to have a successful race with people that you love is like top of the mountain kind of happiness. So, go crew. Yay. Shout out to the crew. Well, ask the crew to be on a podcast, because I'm sure it would be hilarious.
Honestly, I would love to, especially after a race like Cocodona, because like you spend so many days and hours with each other and there's like so much crap going on. And it's like, yeah, like it is funny because you are kind of like just like the horse. It's like, okay, you're gonna go do this thing, we're gonna make you do this thing. But there's like, you are still doing something really impressive, but at the same time it's like, so is everybody else. Like,
oh shoot,
like, the crewing
I think I
aspect
lost
is
you.
so vital, and it's like this is wild the whole time. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and I was talking to them after the race was over, and I was like, because I want everybody to, this is my stupid idea, I want everybody to have a good time, and so I was asking them like, did everybody have a good time? Like, are we all fine? Like, we all think this was worth it? And I mean, I watched some of their interviews that they did with some of the live stream folks, and I mean, they're just like hilarious. So it really, I mean, it is just as fulfilling to me to like know that they learned something and were inspired by whatever this was. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just like good feels all around, I think. So
yeah, I know.
If you have a cool experience like getting to run this race, you might as well share it with people,
Yeah, honestly, I think that's like half the fun, and like it is fun to crew and pace and do all these things at these events, because like you really do bond with people a lot. Like you spend so much time with them, and you get to accomplish something really cool. Like it just helps somebody do something awesome, and like I don't know, it's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Even if it is a week off work, it's worth it.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it was. We went to the Grand Canyon after the race was over, and like ate a bunch of great food. Stayed at this incredible, like this local Flagstaff woman just like took us in, and we just stayed at her house for like 2 nights, and like now we all have this like trail mom. So I mean, it was it was just as hilarious of a trip as like last year's was. So I don't know. There's something magical truly about like doing this race with a crew, especially if that crew consists of like people that you love. So
Yeah, definitely. That really does make it. Let's talk about like pacing yourself at the race. Like, I think everybody was looking at Courtney because like obviously Courtney's gonna draw a lot of attention, a lot of buzz. Like she's done incredible things. But she hasn't ran 200 in a few years, whereas you had won Cocodona last year. So like, there's just a lot of press on Courtney. But it's like you seem to like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seemed like you just ran your race. You ran what you were gonna do, and you just did it, and you executed it. And like everyone else, like maybe Courtney, but like I know a lot of the guys went out really hot going into Crown King, for example, and up to Camp Kippa,
yeah.
and they paid for it like dearly, and a lot of them dropped out. You just kind of like did your thing. When I saw you come into Crown King, it was just very like you just looked very like happy and casual in a lot of ways. Like how did you like? I guess how did you like manage the excitement around the race because everyone was just going out so hot, and then it was also the weather was crazy too.
Um, to be honest with you, I felt like I went out pretty hot also. The only difference I think is that I didn't go out so hot that I wasn't able to maintain it, I guess. Because I remember, I mean, distinctly walking into Crown King and telling somebody on my crew, like, I'm either going to be so thrilled that I did this or regret it. Because I mean, I don't know what my splits were to Crown King, but I think it was at least an hour faster than I did last year. And I felt like I made it. I mean, I won the race last year. So obviously I did fine getting to everywhere. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there was a point where, so I am critically efficient when it's just me at aid stations. And so there was a point early in the race where I got in and out of an aid station before Courtney had left it. And I knew that. And so I was like sitting there running like, oh my gosh, like I'm in front of Courtney. Like this is going to be the only time I'm in front of Courtney. Like how cool. And so when she inevitably came up and passed me, and that woman is a monster on climbs and it's terrifying to watch. But when she came up and passed me, I was just like, you cannot let this bother you. Like I would look up and see them because she was running with Michael Versteeg at the time. And I would like look up and see them and they'd be in one spot. And then I would like look down for 10 seconds. And when I'd look up again, they were like way up there. And I remember Ryan Sands at one point passed me too. And it was just like, I cannot care about this. We are 30 miles, like we are at mile 25. Like I do not need to care where anybody else is right now. Like I am doing what I feel like is 10% harder than I thought I would be doing, you know? And so to push any harder this early would be stupid. And I also feel, you know, I've done a lot of fixed time racing, which is not similar by terrain standards, but you can learn a lot about pushing late in events. So I knew that if I had a smart race, I could at least not decline as rapidly as like somebody who maybe started the race out a little bit too hot. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think you know, there was in the back of my mind this like, oh, well, like, you know, these people are running way faster and like maybe you should be, you know, if you're really trying to stick your nose in it, which admittedly, like I was trying to stick my nose in it this year at Cocodona. And so I was like, you know, if you're trying to stick your nose in it, like you're already letting these people get a mile unknown amount in front of you. But yeah, I don't know. I knew that I was doing the best that I could. I knew that I was moving at a pace that felt only barely sustainable, which to me felt like a good race pace if I am actually trying to compete in this event. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hesitate to say like I waited for the race to come back to me because that's certainly not, I don't think what I was doing, but that is what happened. I just waited around until, you know, people made mistakes, you know, whether it was like they blew through aid stations too quickly or, you know, whatever happened, weren't able to manage the weather well. You know, I knew that I could manage those things. It might take me more time to do that, but I think that time would be well spent because it would mean that I didn't get too cold. I was well hydrated. I didn't forget my snacks at the aid station. Um, you know, whatever. I think it really is. It's interesting as these things are getting so much faster. To figure out where to spend your time. Um, and I distinctly remember after coming into Crown King, telling my crew, like, okay, like, we really have to be efficient with our stops because, like, I am not faster on foot than anybody who's in front of me. And so the way that I can make up time is like efficiency in other places. So I think trying to identify any spots where you might be wasting time, um, and then trying to like manage those before. So like, if you don't eat well and you're going to bonk and then slow down, like, okay, well, there's a solution for this. Just eat more, and if it means you have to sit down to eat a hamburger, like, so be it. That's going to mean that you're not going to bonk later. So I think running 200s is really all about being really familiar with how your body is able to do tough events. So the more time you spend training and doing long things and doing, in my opinion, unsupported things, were really helpful. I think the better you're gonna do at something like Cocodona, because it really all is about, like, how well do you know yourself and how well can you manage your own issues.
Definitely. It's almost as like it sounds so simple when you say it that way, but it's just like practice makes perfect. Like if you don't go out
Practice
and
makes
like
perfect.
like it's
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I'm not saying like you don't have to go out and do like a 200-mile practice run. That's ridiculous. But I honestly, like, I was saying this to somebody, I honestly feel like last year's Cocodona was a practice run for what this year became. But I already knew a lot of the course. I already knew how I felt in certain sections. I know which sections I could have pushed. Like, I honestly last year feel like I could have pushed harder going up the first climb. So this year I didn't make that mistake again. I knew that there were some runnable sections in that first 30 miles. And so, and I knew that there were some, and this is about to sound pretentious, but like, I know that there's 11,000 or whatever feet in that first 37 miles, but like, you can run some of that uphill and not blow yourself up completely if you have the fitness for it. And I knew where my fitness was at. So I knew some of those hills I could run up. So yeah, I don't know. It is, practice makes perfect. I mean, the more you run and the more how to respond to your own bonks and like what foods you can use if you're feeling terrible, or, how fast you can effectively power hike versus run, like all of those things will play to your advantage. And I love running. So I do a lot of practicing it. So I don't know, maybe this is kind of my thing. I don't know. This race this year, for whatever reason, really played to like a lot of strengths I didn't really know I had.
no interesting. So let's talk about the weather too, because like that I think even okay. So like I looked at the weather like the week before. I'm like, oh, it might rain. Like it might just suck. But then I was like, it's probably not going to happen. Like it's Arizona in May. It's been dry. Like it's not going to happen. And then even like I packed for like the cold and like rain and stuff, and driving down there, I just kept thinking about how dusty and dry and hot it was going to be the entire time, because like having been out there all 4 years and like it's just hot, dry, and dusty every time. And then
Yeah.
I don't know, check-in was like whatever, but then like that night
Ugh.
it started raining, the wind was crazy. Then even the start of the race though was actually nice, and then it was just
Yeah.
like chaos. I think from there on. So like, how did that affect your race and strategy? Because like it sounds like it didn't really at all.
It didn't. I live in Colorado now, and this weather at this race is like what I've been training in for the past 6 months. So I had the only frustrating parts I experienced was the mud. But like when I got to the top of Crown King, or I guess like Lane Mountain, when I got to that aid station, I was basically hailed on from the top of the climb through the aid station, like almost all the way to Crown King. So for 4.5 miles, I'm just getting pelted with like, it wasn't huge, but like sometimes they were marble sized hail balls. And I just thought it was the funniest thing. I was like dying laughing because earlier this year, so I work full time and I don't have the amount of time I wish I had to train. And so, you have to kind of make sacrifices sometimes. So earlier this year, I made the choice to not do any heat training. Now I live in Colorado. I live at 8,500 feet, so it's not hot. We get a lot of sun exposure, but like it's not very hot. So yeah, I just made the decision to like, I'll just deal with it. I dealt with it last year. It was fine. You know, I have the tools I need. I know about ice and whatever. And then, yeah, so when all the weather reports were coming out, I was like, yeah, I made the right choice. Like I didn't have to do any of this stupid stuff. And instead, what I did was I spent all my time running in exactly the type of weather that Cocodona had this year. So, I mean, that was super lucky in my opinion. I did not think the weather sucked. I thought the weather was perfect for this race. I would prefer this to, 120 where you're nauseous even thinking about eating. Like, I didn't have to drink as much water. I didn't have to carry as much water at any point on the course. Of course, the mud slowed you down, and that part was frustrating. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't, I'd take mud over dust that like gets in your lungs, and like 2 weeks later, you still have a sinus infection from it. So, it is kind of funny to me. So many people are like, oh, the weather. It's like, what are you talking about? Like this weather was like fantastic. The only problem I had was my feet got wet. So I had blisters this year. I didn't have any last year. So, yeah, I had like 4 blisters, but like, oh God, terrible, So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was fine personally, but maybe that's like an attitude that I just chose to adopt is like, well, you're not going to be able to change this. So you might as well like think it's funny.
Yeah, let's talk about the mindset and attitude, because I was with Browning last year when you ran the Colorado Trail, and we did a film on it, and it was really interesting because we kept talking about the mindset and mentality. Because like obviously it's hard to run for a week, whether it's 200 miles a week, whatever. It's hard, it's far. But we just kept talking about how like like you're doing this thing and it might suck, but it's like you're still going to keep going, right? Like either way, you're going to be in the situation. So then how you look at it really affects like how you just feel about everything and like what you're doing. And like just real quick, like it was earlier this year, I did a bike race, and like it was down in Tucson and it was supposed to be hot. But it ended up raining, snowing, and hailing the entire time. And like, and I was kind of that same mindset of like, I'm just going to take it for what it is. Like, yeah, I can't feel my hands. I can't feel my feet. I can't open these gates we have to go through. But like, it's kind of funny. Like I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm freezing cold right now. So that was my mindset. I was like, well, so it is funny. What it is. It's actually really beautiful out, but my hands kind of hurt, like whatever. But like mindset matters so much. So like, do you actively think about that when you're out there? Like, okay, like maybe like the mud is annoying, but I'm just going to like joke about it because like it is what it is.
I think that it's obviously really easy to choose to be grateful and choose to be happy when things are going really well. And admittedly, I had a relatively easy race. I gotta say, like it wasn't that bad, as I was able to run most of the time and like feel good. I had no major issues. So of course it's really easy to be like, I'm choosing to think this is funny when like nothing hurts. I'm doing well, I did have a low point. I started to get into a low point. So I'd come down from Eldon this year, and I was with the same pacer I had last year, and that was very intentional. Because last year I got to the top of Eldon, I had a huge hissy fit. Let's not cuss for the children. But yeah, I had a huge hissy fit and like just pity party, and it's so dumb because I was in first place. Like that should have been something to be like stoked about, but instead I just was boo hiss. And like I was grumpy with my pacer who was literally there to help me, and like I had this dumb attitude, and that carried me into the finish. Like I finished with this dumb attitude, and I hated that. And so this year I could tell that I was starting to get into like a frustrated headspace where it's like, oh my God, I hate these rocks. Like this trail is so technical. Like I can't figure out like my footing, and this is going so slowly, and I just want to be running. I'm 5 miles from the finish, and like, where's the aid station kind of like attitude. And I've discovered something about myself, and it's when I'm feeling, or when I'm about to get into a rabbit hole of like negativity, I always ask, where is blank? Whether it's like, where's the top of this climb? Where is the aid station? Like whatever. I just like start repeating like, where is blah? And I noticed that I started doing that. And Jake, my pacer, also noticed. And so the only strategy my sleep deprived brain could come up with at the time was just like, okay, you are no longer talking. Like, if you do not talk about how much you wish the aid station and you were off this trail, and like, why are we keeping on turning right onto these trails and not turning left to get out of them? So yeah, if I just didn't ask any questions, eventually we'd just get there and then I'd feel better. And sure enough, like, that's exactly what happened. Like, I just stopped giving that negative attitude a voice. And I just, I held it inside. I still was very much like, but I did feel better knowing that, like, okay, well, I am taking control of the situation by like changing my actions. And eventually it did turn around. That's the thing that I think is so beautiful about 200-mile races, is that at any given point, if you give it enough time, it will absolutely turn around. Whether it means, you're working on a 118-hour finish and like you feel terrible and like you just need to sleep, or you just need to like go to some restaurant in town and like sit down with your family and like get that mental boost, like whatever, there is a solution for how terrible you feel. Sometimes that solution is taking time off the course. But I truly think that every person that toes that start line, if they are creative enough, there is a solution to get you to that finish line. It's not that hard. Like, you can figure it out. Especially, again, props to crews. If you have an excellent crew, they can help you figure it out too. Like, you're definitely at no point in this race by yourself trying to do this seemingly impossible task.
Yeah, so I guess there's a lot of like ways I could ask you this question, but it seems like it's almost just like control what you can control, but then also have like things put in place to like mitigate these issues that are going to come up. Like, we all know our personalities, and we know that like, okay, when I'm this way, I do this. Even if we don't want to admit it, we all know how we are. Then also having crew and pacers that can also tell you these things, like, hey, like, you are this way, so have a gel, eat some food, drink some water, or whatever, right?
Yeah. I think I definitely think knowing yourself is important. And I think just knowing that there will be times that are going to suck worse than others. And just like, it will get better. You just have to give it time. And like, I said this, I think, on a podcast before, and the person made like a little reel out of it. And I'm really glad that he did, because I think it's important to like remember. But it's like, even if something sucks and it isn't going to get better, in the meantime, it's not going to hurt to hope that it will improve. So if you can just figure out a way to like find that what if it gets better, instead of dwelling on what if this is just like how it is now, or what if it gets worse. It's, what if it does get better? Like, what will that do for your race? Like, think about that instead of think about like, oh, well, I'm walking right now and like maybe this person's going to catch me. Like, well, what if you started running right now? And what if like you didn't feel any worse doing that? That means now you're saving all this time, So yeah, a lot of weird mental, I don't know what this is. I don't know why 200 milers are I feel like they're so much more of a brain, like, mental game than anything else. I think that's why I like them so much. Because, obviously, like, running 100 miles is nuts. And you're going to double that and then add like 50 more. Like, what is wrong with us? Like, why are we like this? But I don't know. I mean, I learned something incredibly important about myself every time that I've done this race, which is probably why you have people who are doing this race 5 times now, is because like, I'm just not, I'll learn something about myself from a tough 100 miler, obviously, from like a fixed time race that's greater than 2 days. Obviously, we all learn things, but I have not yet found a race that has given me such like profound, like, aha moments that I'm able to apply to like everyday life more than this race has for me. So props.
That's awesome. It kind of seems like I've never ran a 200, but it kind of seems like running a 200 is like trying to put together a puzzle. where like the picture's changing like as time goes on.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like
It's
actually
trying to put together, yeah, it's like trying to put together a puzzle and like you threw away the box. Like you don't even know what you're making here, but like good luck. It's a 10,000 piece puzzle. Good luck, losers. So yeah, I don't know. It's uh it's a unique race distance for sure. And I think there's something too about the 250 distance, particularly because it really is like if you can think about it as being like I am just going from here to there and not think about how far that actually is. Um, I really respect the fact that it's like this random, like this year it was what, like 256 or 257. Like it's just this random number that like, I'm never going to be like, oh yeah, my 257-mile PR is like, no one cares. Right. It's just like, well, I ran Cocodona and this year my time was this. Cause it really is, it's not a race distance. It's a journey. That is so cliche. It's not a race distance. It's a journey, but it really is just like, here's your trip. Like, have fun. However long this is how long you're gonna go. You know, there's no shortcuts on this route legally.
Yeah, I do think it's funny when people are like they start complaining about the distance. It's like, well, you signed up for it. Like, you know, you knew
You signed
beforehand
up for it.
how many miles it was. So like, just go and do it. Like,
Yeah,
just be quiet.
exactly. And plus, like, please, who everybody knows, like, if you do 100-miler and it's like 103 miles, shut up. Like, it's the same distance every year, and like, it's fine. It's approximately 100 miles, or if it's
Mhm.
97, like, no one, I don't know. Like I said, it's a course. You know what it is. Just you signed up for it. Let's go.
Yeah, it's like welcome to trail running. Like, we're 100 miler could be
Welcome to trail
110.
running. Exactly. I mean, listen, this is not an exact science. It is an art form. Um, so that is how I run these things. I do not know. I don't know. This has been like this hot topic. Like I don't own a watch and I have no idea what I'm doing at any point. Like I have no plan ever other than like, cool, I'm going to get there. And I think it's really important to like, that method can work for some people. It doesn't always have to be like the idea of like having a watch and like knowing my heart rate and my doing workouts. Like I'm not doing workouts. Like I don't want to do any of that like science stuff. I will, if I have to, but like I don't know. To me, running is just so like it's much more of like a joy thing. It's much more of like I get to go all these places and see all these things, and I get to do that at my own pace. Whatever pace I decide that that's going to be. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. Yay, running! Running is cool.
Does the science part not interest you? Because like from my perspective, I think it's really interesting, but I also get your perspective too of like just going out there and just doing it. Because like on one hand, you just have to do it. Like you can't science your way out of running 250 miles. You have to go out and just do it, right?
Yeah. I won't say, I mean, I work in healthcare. I love science. I'm not going to say that the science is fascinating. I just want people to get it from somebody else. Cause like, I think for me, it's going to make it into like a job. And so again, I was running earlier with Kevin and we were talking about like the metrics and stuff. Um, and I mean, I think is like fully convinced that I'm like a superhero of some sort. Cause I mean, like today we went running. I felt totally fine. Like obviously like I'm tired or whatever, but like my legs feel fine. My feet feel fine. I would like to keep running because I like it. So how dare you tell me we're only doing 4 miles today? I want to do 20. But yeah, he was saying like, it's really ridiculous that like you're not looking at any of these metrics because like you could be training better and like you could be optimizing, your VO2 max. And I don't even know what other things he said because I don't know what they are. But I don't know how much those things like are going to change how I'm training. Like if I'm doing a run and I want to run hard, then I will. Like I'm not going to, oh, my VO2 max is 75. Like that means I have to do threshold workouts at 158 beats. Like I'm not going to be staring at my watch. I'm going to be looking at the trail and like looking at the rocks and stuff. Like I don't know. It's just not my thing, not I'm too busy looking at other things to look at my watch.
Well, then maybe my next question then is going to be totally irrelevant because like your nutrition strategy,
Oh,
because
let's.
I find nutrition so
No
interesting.
idea. Yeah, I have no idea. No, I do. I did go into this with So I've been doing a little bit of like communication with the precision fueling and hydration team. Because
Mhm.
admittedly, nutrition weak point. Like I suck at it. I don't ever eat. I've literally done a 100-mile race where I consumed nothing because I had food poisoning, and so every time I would eat something, I would just barf it up. So nutrition and I are not friends. But my strategy this year was to have at least like 2 bottle calories at pretty much all times. And then I discovered that I love mashed potatoes, and I can eat them at any time. And so had a lot of mashed potatoes on this run. So yeah, I mean my crew is very much under the impression that like, how are you doing these things without fueling? Like, what if we just fueled you? And so um, I basically would just like eat everything that they put in my pack. Like I asked no questions. If you want my nutrition plan, ask them. I don't know what they were doing. But Gus, the super good pacer guy, he's also really good with nutrition stuff. And so he was kind of like the guy who mixed all the drinks and did all the stuff. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I said, my only job was to run and just eat what was in my pack to the best of my ability. So that was my plan. It worked really well. I felt super good. I do think that there is something to it, particularly now because I did so much better than I did last year, and a big difference was I was consistently eating. And last year I had a turnaround moment where like I was feeling crappy. I was feeling crappy forever, and then I was running with my friend Chalice, who was pacing me last year, and she was like, "Well, just eat this. Like, eat that." She was like convincing me to like eat things often. And it turned my entire race around and I felt 100% better. So apparently, if you eat, you feel a lot better. That's my nutrition strategy. Just eat anything. Um, apparently, if you eat stuff, you feel pretty good like the whole time. So my advice is just do whatever your crew tells you, or just eat stuff consistently. It does work. Who knew? Not me.
Yeah, I think just like going back to like that's like the importance of having a good crew is like you can just kind of check out to a certain extent and be like, okay, like they're going to
Yeah.
feed me, they're going to take care of me, whatever. They let me do what I make me do what I need to do to get this done, and like everyone like plays such a pivotal role, whether it's nutrition or shoes or changing packs or whatever. It's like it's all super important in the end, especially in a race like this.
Yep. Yeah. Everybody on my crew had a pretty distinct role, I would say. Like I had so Evan paced me a little bit, and he also like shot a bunch of things like media stuff that I'm super excited to see later. And then yeah, Gus was like the vibes and nutrition guy. Kevin basically dealt with how nasty my feet were all the time, among other things. Um, and then I don't know, Jake was just very much just like no nonsense, like you can do this kind of thing. I don't
Mm.
know. It was cool to kind of watch as everybody like fell into their roles. I mean, yeah, very good crew. Like I said, still don't have any idea how people do this with no crew. Don't. That is bananas to me. And I love unsupported FKTs, and still bananas to me.
Yeah, no joke. Like it just seems crazy to me, but it would be really interesting though, just to like have a sit down with like a crew from Cocodona and just like a roundtable discussion almost like
I'm
just talk
sure
about
they
it.
would
It'd
be
be so
game.
fun.
I'm sure they'd be game.
Considering like how you've progressed over the years, you say you don't wear a watch, you don't really track a lot of stuff, you kind of go more off a feel, but like do you feel like your training has still like shifted and morphed over the years to get to where you are now?
I do. I do feel like, despite the fact that I don't have a plan, I am intentional with my training blocks. Is that what we call them? So like I think my training for, it's funny, but I do think my training for last year's Cocodona was better and more specific than this year's. So like last year, for instance, I did a lot of back-to-back long runs, back-to-back-to-back long runs, in areas that geologically are like I guess like the trail systems were very similar to what I imagined Arizona would be like. So I did a lot of training in like Ojai, Santa Barbara, where it's very rocky, it's very dry, it's very hot, not a lot of humidity, a lot of uphill stuff. So, I try to think about like when I'm signing up for a race, it's like, okay, well, what are the conditions that course has? And how can I simulate those where I am now so that my training is specific enough to do well? So for this year, I mean, accidentally, I trained great because the weather was Colorado. But yeah, like I said, last year, I really, knowing that the race is typically hot, if I'd had the weather I had this year last year, I probably would have died. So yeah, knowing that the weather is usually hot, knowing that the course is always rocky and steep and, whatever. Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefit to doing just like the tiniest bit of research on what it is you're actually signing up for, and then figuring out like, oh, well, shoot, this race is at altitude, so I need to figure out how to do that. Or like, typically this race has thunderstorms. I need to figure out how to manage myself in wind and rain and not be scared of lightning and that kind of thing. And then if it's not something that you could figure out on your own, you need to maybe, check your goals because you might not be doing super great at that race.
No, I totally agree. It's almost like pick what you enjoy versus just like signing up for stuff because people tell you to. Because if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I over the years, I found that like I do not love running fast all the time, but like more recently, it's been a little bit more fun to kind of play with like, I only have a finite amount of time during the work week. I can only really run during my lunch break. And so it's like, well, like I almost look forward to my 53-minute speed workout every day that I do. So, I do think like, despite the fact that I don't have any like formal training plan at any point, I do maybe inherently kind of know like how to make myself into a better runner and what things I need to work on. And I do think a lot of that is I like to run with other people, and I like to run with people who have things that they're good at that I'm not. So like, for instance, Kevin, my partner, he is very into like high alpine scramble crap that I suck at. So I'm really looking forward to this week or this summer, running more with him so that I can get better at that aspect of running. And then, last year I was running with a lot of really, really, really fast downhill and uphill guys. Like they would just mob up the hill and then haul down the hill. And it was like, I'm constantly getting left behind. So, I mean, that made me a lot faster and it made me a lot better at my footwork. So, I mean, running with people who have things that they enjoy doing that are different than yours is another really easy way to get better at being a more well-rounded trail runner or runner in general. So yeah, like I said, I come up with none of my own original content. I basically just mooch off other people.
I mean, it makes sense though. Like if you're gonna, I don't know, like pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, like you're gonna learn a lot and become. Like, this is another cliche, but it's like you become comfortable and the uncomfortable. Like if you always just like run easy pace with people you're faster than, then it's like you're never gonna improve and you're never really gonna push yourself into that comfort zone or out of that comfort zone, which is like what racing is a lot of the time.
Yep, agreed.
So
yeah,
anyways.
find a diverse group of friends and run with them.
yeah, I think that's pretty key for a lot of things. Anyways, let's wrap it up here. We've gone almost an hour now, but like once again, just like congrats on the win. Like it was wild
Thanks.
to see. Like I was out there filming and like it was just fun to like just follow the lead pack and then to see you just like run your race and then see you at various points along the course. And at a certain point, Dan and Ryan were just far enough ahead where I couldn't, with my lack of sleep, like safely drive back to like meet you at certain places to film.
You're good.
My camera ended up dying from all the rain.
I saw that. It's fine. I think there's enough videos of me weeping at the finish.
There's probably
everybody
tons.
on the internet saw them. So
I was actually like, I'd parked like, that church that you run by right there at the finish. There's like that, maybe you don't remember. It's like, whatever. It's like
I know the church.
Finish. Okay. So I was parked in that parking lot across, and then I was trying to fix my camera in my truck, and then I saw you run by, and I was like, "Oh my gosh! Like I missed."
Dang it! Yeah.
So I saw you basically finish, but I didn't get the finish shot.
Yeah, but that's all right. Like I said, there's 100,000 videos of me finishing on the internet. So
yeah,
I still can't watch them without crying. So TBD on when that happens.
Man, I bet
But
like I honestly just can't imagine like running for that long on that little of sleep and then not being emotional at the finish because like at that point you're just totally broken. It's not like running a 50K or something. It's like you're out there for a
yeah,
long time and all these people that helped you along the way. Like it's definitely like a
yeah,
special experience.
yeah. You're very. I mean, you're too exhausted to be anything other than your authentic self. So yeah, and my authentic self was like a mess, a very happy mess. But yeah, it was a thanks for being out there. I'm happy that it had so much hype. I think it's well worth the hype. This is seriously like last year I ran this race and I thought it was pretty cool. Obviously, I thought it was cool enough to sign up for it. Earlier this year, I was like second guessing whether I wanted to sign up for it. And after this year, it's like, dang, how can I go to this race every single year? Like I have to, I don't think it's smart for me to run it every single year, but there is something pretty magical about this race. So the more people that get to experience that magic, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe we should just take a second because I was thinking about this a lot too. Like I worked at Airvipa briefly, and that's when Jamil had this idea for Cocodona. He's always tons of ideas all the time.
Oh
But like to
yeah,
see it
man's a
evolve,
genius.
yeah, he's just always going, always thinking. Like it's mind blowing to me, honestly. I don't know how he does it. But like to see the race go from like the inception of like, okay, we're gonna make this route through Arizona. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Then to see it evolve over the years to where it is now, like with the live stream, all the media, and like how many people come out and people that care about it so much. Like it's just really cool, and it's cool to see like Jamil and his whole team to give them all credit, like Steve and Jubilee, all these people out there. It's like, and all the volunteers even. It's like people put so much work into this event, and it's made it awesome. Like it's so fun. Like
Yeah.
it was so fun this year. Like it was fun to be at.
Yeah, you can tell it's a big passion project. He said something, I ran into him on the sidewalk and I was just like gushing about how much I love him in this race. And he said, yeah, it's been fun. I'm paraphrasing, but he said like, yeah, it's been fun to pour the gasoline on this race and like see where it takes it. And it's like, that is exactly what you should be doing with this race. Like this race is you can tell how much he and the entire team like care about and love this race. And I mean, it makes it a sporting event that people can watch, and that's, I think, something that's really been missing with our sport, and what's kept us not as mainstream is like people have no idea what the heck we're doing out there. Like we're gone for 48 hours and then we come back like covered in blisters and vomit and like what happened. But now Cocodona gives us a chance to like show our loved ones how we bleed and barf on the side of the trail. It's very exciting stuff. but yeah, I mean, I think it really is. It's the most exciting thing. I mean, maybe all year, as far as like a, participant side and probably spectator side. I mean, Western States is pretty epic, but like it's just so short. There's not, there's time for stories to evolve, but now take that time and double it. And that's this, So yeah. Anyway, Matt
Yeah.
Props. Oh my God, huge fan.